Hey Kipsters! Tomorrow we're going to continue talking about space. Yay, space! By the end of tomorrow's lesson, Kipsters will be able to identify the accommodations that enable or allow manned space explorations. Let's first take a look at some vocabulary. So the word accommodation means an adaptation or an adjustment, and the word enable means to allow. So Kipsters will be able to identify the adjustments that allow for manned space explorations. Here's what I mean. There are many challenges faced by astronauts in space. We're home to NASA here in Houston, and the engineers and scientists at NASA have discovered that there are many challenges that go into trying to figure out how to send someone to space. For example, there are very extreme temperatures in space. There are places where it is super hot and you wouldn't be able to exist without some kind of spacesuit. And there are also places where it gets very, very cold. Space has a microgravity environment, meaning there's extremely low gravity once you leave Earth. So in space and on the moon, there's very low gravity. There's also what we call a vacuum of space. Space has no atmosphere and no pressure. And finally, like what we've talked about for the past 2 days, there's dangerous radiation or UV rays from the sun. So scientists have had to figure out, how do we overcome these challenges to send someone to space? So here's some accommodations or adjustments that have been made for space travel. First, the good old spacesuit. So if you are going up into space, you will be required to wear a spacesuit. The spacesuit, like the one you see here, has a gold-plated visor that protects from sunlight. If you were in space and you didn't have one of these, you would be blinded by the radiation from the sun. There's also devices like the ones that you see here that are equipped with fans that control the life support system and even an oxygen pack on its back to ensure a continuous supply of oxygen. There are places in space with little to no oxygen, so it's important that astronauts bring their own. You can see another example of a spacesuit here. This includes all the technology. There's battery packs, gloves, a water tank, even an in-suit drink bag so that astronauts can have something to drink in space. Remember, water is scarce in space. Next, exercise. It's very important that astronauts exercise regularly. If you go into space, you'll be required to exercise for about 30 minutes every single day. That's because space is a microgravity environment, and it can cause your bones and muscles to weaken really quickly. So if you spend just 4 weeks in space and you don't exercise, when you come back to Earth, your bones and your muscles will be extremely weak. So it's a requirement for astronauts to exercise every day. And next, there's complex radios and computers. And these computers allow astronauts to communicate with each other and to communicate back to home base or the space station here at NASA. So they have these radios and computers to let them know where it is that they're going, where it is that they're headed, and if they have any issues or run into any trouble in space, they can communicate back to home base. Tomorrow we'll go into further detail about other accommodations that allow for space travel. That's it for today.